What is up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. This is my full card breakdown and prediction video for UFC 323. We have Merab Dvalishvili going against Petr Yan, and I can't wait for this card. I'm really looking forward to it. I will be attending this card, and funny story, my brother is the biggest Sean O'Malley fan ever, and there was a fake tweet, I'm not going to say names, we all know who it is, on Twitter that said Sean O'Malley was going to fight Song Yadong at UFC 323. I texted my brother, I said, we gotta go. So we bought the hotel, we bought the flight, and then Sean O'Malley's not fighting on this card. That's the bad thing. But the good thing is they completely stacked up this card from top to bottom. I'm really looking forward to it. So yeah, it's gonna be a fun night of fights. Got 2 title fights, got stacked prelims. Can't wait to break it all down. Before we get into it, if you guys can do me a couple favors, like the video, subscribe to the channel. We are 150 subscribers away from 30,000. Let's try to get there by the end of the year. We have about a month or so to do it. And since this is a pay-per-view card, going to be bringing back the Significant Strike contest. To enter the contest, of course, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and then comment down how many Significant Strikes you think that Merab Dvalishvili and Petr Yan are going to combine for. $25 to first. If there's a tiebreaker, the tiebreaker is going to go to the person that commented first. And since we are very close to 30K, I'll do this. If I get 30,000 subscribers by the time this card is over, there won't be one winner. There won't be 2 winners. There will be 3 different winners for the Significant Strike contest. So more ways to win if we do hit 30K. It's very, very doable. Just need 150 more subs. So comment down those Significant Strikes. And I do got to shout out the sponsor for this week, and that is going to be none other than herbalmakings.com, which is actually my wife's website here. And you know, my wife, she's been pretty upset lately, and I don't ask for much. I ask you to like the video, I ask you to subscribe, but I don't ask for much. But my wife recently opened up a small business, and she's been down lately because she hasn't gotten a ton of orders. So I thought I'd be a good husband and come on here and shout out her shed. If you got a girlfriend, sister, wife, grandma, someone in your life that's slathering lotion or some kind of moisturizer on you, the problem is these big name brands are full of chemicals, fillers, and just straight up bullshit, pretty much rubbing poison on your body. But my wife uses all natural organic ingredients that hydrate your skin, reduce wrinkles, and actually help your skin and not harm. Unlike those corporate brands who are charging triple the price, my wife is not a greedy little capitalist bitch. And if you do buy something, she might have sex with me, just maybe. So help me out with some sex. But in all seriousness, I wanted to come on here, surprise her, because even just one order, it just makes her day. So yeah, go check it out. She has lots of products on there. Check it out at herbalmakings.com. And yeah, wanted to surprise her there. I don't think she watches my videos anymore, but once she gets some orders, I think it'll make her day. So even if a couple people just get an order for a friend, for yourself, it would mean a lot to her and me. So with all that out of the way, I say we get into the video, and we have the first fight of the card. It is going to be none other than Marvin Santos taking on Muhammad Naimov here. So yeah, this is a good fight. It's a fight where, I'm personally not too high on either one of these guys, but I think the guy with the bigger ceiling is Marvin Santos. And man, it's about a week and a half before these fights are kicking off, and these lines are already getting steamed because Marvin Santos is currently a minus 245 favorite, and Muhammad Naimov is plus 210. And yeah, I've never been high on Naimov. I don't think he has the best volume. He's getting outstruck in a lot of his fights. I don't think he has the best cardio. This is a guy, Muhammad Naimov, who is one of the biggest cheaters in the UFC. I mean, you got watch this guy's fights. He's grabbing gloves, he's grabbing shorts, he's grabbing the cage. I mean, this guy's one of the biggest cheaters I've ever seen. I mean, this guy's probably, sitting in a hotel room in Vegas right now, cheating on his wife with a bunch of hookers. I mean, this guy just cheating every single opportunity he can get. He's probably on Tinder, texting those bitches. And yeah, I can't go with a cheater like Muhammad Naimov. Santos, he's younger by 6 years. I think he has room for improvement. I think he has room for growth, and I think we are going to see some improvements. And I just think he's the better striker. I think he's the cleaner striker, more volume. As long as he can stuff the takedowns, as long as that chin holds up against Naimov, I think he gets the job done, and I think he gets the job done by decision. Next up, we have a sanctioned murder. It is Mansur Abdul-Malik going against Antonio Trococi, and we got Mansur Abdul-Malik minus 1,000. Antonio Trococi sitting as a plus 650 underdog. And yeah, I'm not convinced this is even a real fight. Like Trococi, he doesn't strike me as a guy that's a real fighter. You know, this guy's a poker player. Like he's seriously a professional poker player. I feel like he's more invested in poker than his career, because his performances have not been great. Like, how do you lose to Tresean Gore? Like that's a horrible look. Like, how do you lose to Tresean Gore? I mean, that guy's like 3-5. So yeah, this should be Mansur Abdul-Malik all day. The problem with Mansur Abdul-Malik is this guy, in my opinion, just has such a high ceiling. This guy can be an absolute killer, but he's fighting, I don't know, I don't want to say scared, but just so hesitant. He's just not aggressive enough. Like, he's taking Nick Klein late into the second round. Like, how does that happen, Mansur? You know, in that Cody Brundage fight, I was smashing my TV because I had the under, and these guys didn't start fighting until the third round started. It's actually quite suspicious, you know, how you know, low volume and how little urgency Mansur Abdul-Malik has in a lot of his fights. It's like, is this guy cashing over 1.5 rounds in these fights? Because that's what it looks like to me. But man, if this guy goes out there and shows any urgency whatsoever, he's going to spark Trococi. I mean, the fight shouldn't be remotely close. I mean, Trococi has no striking defense, no wrestling, nothing. I mean, Trococi is just a grappler, and Mansur Abdul-Malik's going to be the better wrestler, going to be much physically stronger, going to hit a lot harder. So yeah, this should be Mansur Abdul-Malik all day, and I would like to see him go out there and look like a -1,000 favorite. Go out there and finish this guy, and finish him early. Don't mess around. You know, let your hands go. And if he does that, I think he's completely destroys poor Antonio Trococi, and I think he does it in the very first round. So I'll say Mansur Abdul-Malik wins. I'll say he wins by first round knockout, but it might be round 2 because this guy dicks around too much. Up next, we have a very fun fight. We got Iwo Baraniewski going against Ibo Aslan. We got Baraniewski -200. Aslan is +170. And like I said, these lines are moving because Baraniewski was like closer to a pick'em just a couple days ago. And yeah, this is a fight where, you know, Baraniewski was actually a big underdog on the Contender Series against Muhammad Ali. And he went out there and sparked Ali in about 30 seconds. You know, he showed a lot of power, and because it looked like he barely touched Ali, and Ali just kind of fell over like a sack of potatoes. But you go watch Baraniewski's other 4 or 5 fights, and, you know, he's going out there using that judo to take guys down, and once he gets on top of you, his ground and pound is vicious. He has a good submission game as well, so I think he has a lot more to offer than just going out there and knocking guys out on the feet. Like, he can also take the fight down to the ground, and I think that makes for a very dangerous fighter, and a very dangerous fight for a guy like Ibo Aslan, who got taken down and submitted by Iwan Cutelaba. You know, how do you get taken down and submitted by Iwan Cutelaba? I mean, Cutelaba, I believe that was not only his first submission in the UFC, I believe that was Cutelaba's first submission attempt. Think about that. And he submitted Ibo Aslan in the very first round. Aslan looked like a complete white belt on the mat. It was a very bad look. And my thinking here is, yeah, both guys can obviously knock each other out on the feet. But if Baraniewski gets on top, like, the fight's going to be over shortly after. I don't think Aslan has great cardio at all. I don't think Aslan has any ground game whatsoever. So I get why money's coming in on Baraniewski here. And I'm going to take Baraniewski to win this fight in the very first round. I'll say he takes down Aslan, gets on top, and finds a submission. If Iwan Cutelaba can do it, anybody can do it. Give me Iwo Baraniewski by first round submission. Up next, we have a banger of a fight. We have the return of Jalin Turner, and he's taking on Edson Barboza. We got Jalin Turner -255, Edson Barboza sitting as a +215 underdog. And it was sad, man. It was sad when Jalin Turner retired, because it's like, this guy has so much upside, in my opinion. This guy's like one of the most dangerous fighters in the division. You know, his takedown defense is not great. You know, the ground game, it's not great. But on the feet, I mean, this guy's going to offer a ton of problems to a lot of guys in the lightweight division. I mean, this guy's 6'3", he has the death touch. But yeah, it's funny, I was putting the stats in for this card, and I saw the record at 14-9. I actually had to double check to make sure that's right, because, you know, when I think of Jalin Turner, he's not a 14-9 type fighter to me, but, you know, he has 9 losses, right? But when he's losing a lot of these fights, it's because guys are taking him down. Matt Frivola back in the day. Renato Moicano, took him down and TKO'd him. And, if he can keep fights on the feet, even Mateus Gamrot, right? So if he can keep fights on the feet, he's going to beat a lot of guys and beat a lot of guys in devastating fashion. I believe he still has a 100% finish rate intact in 14 wins. So, and I think he's getting Edson Barboza at the right time. I have not liked what I've seen from Edson Barboza in the slightest bit. I think Barboza is getting to, kind of getting put into the washed category at this point. That Drakkar Klose fight, that was the last straw. I mean, you should be beating a guy like Drakkar Klose, who I thought Drakkar Klose was kind of, on his way out. And he lost to Drakkar Klose. He got hurt against Drakkar Klose. It was just a very, very bad look against Lerone Murphy over the course of 25 minutes. Like, Murphy's a great fighter, don't get me wrong, but Barboza was doing the stanky leg, multiple times in that fight. The durability just looks really rough, and the durability is not something you really want to be questioning when you fight a guy as dangerous as Jalin Turner. And what I like about this fight for Jalin Turner is he's not going to have to worry about Barboza taking him down really at all. Barboza has landed less than a half a takedown per 15 minutes over the course of his career. So I think Turner's going to get the fight he wants. That's a stand-up war on the feet. And at this stage of their careers, I have to absolutely favor Jalin Turner. The question is, the mentality of Turner. Where's he at mentally? If he's coming in here, still unsure, that could be a problem. But if we get a motivated or anywhere near a motivated Jalin Turner, I think this is going to be very bad for Edson Barboza. So I'm going to take Jalin Turner here. I'm going to take Jalin Turner to win this fight by first round knockout. Up next, we have Brunno Ferreira going against Marvin Vettori. And man, this is one of the most fascinating fights on the card to me because we have, something's got to give. Brunno Ferreira has a 100% finish rate. Marvin Vettori can't physically be knocked out. It can't happen. I don't think it'll ever happen. I mean, Marvin Vettori has one of the biggest heads in the UFC. This guy can eat a shot, and he's proven that time and time again. Brunno Ferreira has not won a fight that's went past the second round. So it's like, is Brunno Ferreira going to be the first person that knocks out Marvin Vettori? Is Brunno Ferreira going to win his first decision? And I don't know about either of those things. Marvin Vettori, let's just call it what it is. Marvin Vettori, I think is, kind of washed. I mean, he's looked awful. I mean, god-awful against Brendan Allen, Jared Cannonier, and Roman Dolidze. With that said, those are all three really good fighters, but still, just the way he's looking in there, he just doesn't look great. He's been battling some injuries. He's been dealing with some outside of the cage stuff. But man, I mean, Marvin Vettori, he's going to be the minute winner here. I mean, Marvin Vettori lands a lot more volume. Marvin Vettori has some grappling upside here. Like, let's not forget, Brunno Ferreira got out-cardioed by Abus Magomedov. Let me repeat that. Brunno Ferreira got out-cardioed by Abus Magomedov, who's the biggest gas bag in UFC history. And Abus Magomedov submitted Brunno Ferreira in the third round. And you got to think, Marvin Vettori has been fighting the top of the division, the top guys, right? It wouldn't surprise me if Marvin Vettori came out here with a game plan to grapple. I think that'd be very wise. And if Ferreira's not knocking out Vettori, I think Vettori can win minutes on the feet, and I think Vettori can win minutes on the mat, and potentially even, get Ferreira out of there late if Ferreira is death-gassed, like he was completely death-gassed in the Abus Magomedov fight. So it's a really weird and tricky fight to call because I do think Vettori's washed, but at the end of the day, I see some paths here for him. And as long as he's not getting knocked out for the first time, I'm kind of leaning Vettori's way, especially as he becomes, plus money. And I do think Ferreira will take some steam throughout the weeks, the next week and a half, because Vettori does look washed. But I'll go Vettori here. One last ride, one last chance. I'm going to take Vettori to, mix in the takedowns, grind on Ferreira, get him tired, and actually submit Ferreira in the third round. So give me Vettori by third round submission. Next up, we have an absolute banger. It is Fares Ziam going against Nazim Sadykhov. We got Ziam minus 145. Nazim Sadykhov sitting as a plus 125 underdog. It's an interesting fight here because I have never been a big fan of Fares Ziam. I think this guy's so boring. He's one of those guys that is very defensively sound. I'd like to label him as like a tactician. He's very technical. He won't take a ton of risks. You'll see pretty much all of his fights going to decision outside of Matt Frivola. And I don't know, he's just not he's just not that exciting. But with that said, he's very good. Ziam is a very good fighter, and he's making a ton of improvements. I used to think there was a gaping hole in the ground game of Ziam. The takedown defense, the submission defense. This guy's been submitted 3 times, right? But he's patched up that hole. That hole is no longer gaping, and he's actually taking guys down himself and out-grappling, guys like Mike Davis in parts of the fight. He's out-grappling guys like Claudio Poyas in certain instances as well. So, yeah, got to give a lot of credit to Ziam. And it's a clash of styles because you have a guy in Ziam who's a tactician and just very technical and defensively sound, responsible, won't take a ton of risk. And on the flip side, you have an absolute wild man, a madman, a Nazim Sadykhov, who's a dog. He's got that dog in him, man. I think Ziam, definitely more technical, probably even more skilled, But Sadykhov, he's got that dog in him. I think he's going to make it a dogfight. I think he's going to make it a war. I think he's going to mix in some takedowns here. I'm leaning with the dog and Sadykhov, and I think this could be a frustrating fight where, Ziam makes it a Ziam fight, and it's not the most exciting fight. But I don't know. I don't think Nazim Sadykhov is going to let that happen. I think Sadykhov's going to push a little bit of a pace here, make this a little bit, make it a dogfight, right? So I'm going to take the dog and what I think is going to be a dogfight. I'm going to say Nazim Sadykhov wins this fight and wins it by decision. Moving on, we got Maycee Barber going against Karine Silva. We got Maycee Barber minus 155, Karine Silva plus 135. And anytime I talk about this fight, I got to bring up that afro. I mean, that's one hell of an afro. And it kind of makes me jealous. I feel like I would potentially pull off an afro like that. And quite frankly, it's impossible. It's impossible to get an afro like that. So shout out to Karine Silva because we don't see afros like that. Not in 2025 at least. But yeah, tough fight to call. There are a ton of red flags, a ton of question marks with Maycee Barber, right? The biggest one being like, where is she at mentally? Where is she at physically? She just pulled out of a fight against Erin Blanchfield like 5 minutes before they were supposed to walk out. And, I forget what they said. There was some medical issue. I don't know. But regardless, it's not a good look. It's just not a good look. And she hasn't fought in 1 year and 8 months. I'm not really sure where she's at. Is she coming in here compromised? She's been dealing with a ton of health issues. Where's she at? And I think mentally is probably my biggest concern. Where's she at mentally? She was always talking about how she wanted to be, the youngest champion. And that obviously never happened, but she's now 27 years old at this point. Where's she at? Right? And, I don't think it's, great to be questioning, the mentality, where she's at physically against somebody in Karine Silva, who quite frankly is a killer. That's her nickname, killer, because she is. She has a 90% finish rate. She has a ton of power on the feet. She can mix in the takedowns. Her ground game is nasty. If Maycee Barber's coming in here compromised at all, that's it's not good. She's gonna lose. If Maycee Barber's coming in here and she's not all there mentally, she's not 100% bought in, she's gonna probably lose this fight against a killer like Karine Silva. And Silva can mix in takedowns. Her wrestling actually isn't bad, and once she does get the fight down to the ground, it's her world. And Maycee Barber can absolutely be taken down. Maycee Barber has a 58% takedown defense, 53% takedown defense. She gets taken down by pretty much everybody. Caitlin Chukagian took her down. Amanda Hebos took her down. Andrea Lee took her down 5 times. Jessica Ai took her down. Montana De La Rosa took her down. Miranda Maverick took her down. Roxanne Modafferi took her down. The list goes on and on and on. People can take her down, and if Silva gets you down, it's going to be a problem. You're either staying there for the rest of the round or you're potentially getting submitted. So, yeah, with all the red flags and question marks surrounding the Maycee Barber side, I have to lean to the Karine Silva side at plus money here. I can't, in good conscience, lay minus 155 on Barber with all things considered. So I'm going to take Silva here to win. And I don't know, I think she could potentially win by submission, but I'll say Silva wins this fight by decision. Give me Karine Silva by decision in this one. Up next, we have my favorite fight on the entire card. It is Chris Duncan going against Terrance McKinney. How can you not be excited for this fight? And I want to give a big shout out to the matchmakers for this one, because you can't possibly put together a more violent fight in the lightweight division. We have Terrance McKinney, who has been under 1.5 rounds in every single UFC fight, and I don't really think that changes here, because you look at him fight as this guy is kill or be killed. He fights like he's double parked, like he wants to get in, like he wants to get out. I mean, this guy is going to go out there and give you 2.5 minutes of hell. But after those 2.5 minutes, he really has nothing left, and he's been finished 7 times in his career. This is Chris Duncan has cashed 3 times in a row as an underdog. And I've been counting out Duncan, but man, it's hard to ignore the improvements he's been making at American Top Team. He's getting that South Florida sun. Now all of a sudden, Duncan's ground game looks so much improved, and that's going to happen when you're training with a guy like Grant Dawson, who we'll talk about on the daily, guys like Mateus Gamrot on the daily. I mean, your ground game is going to improve, right? And I think Duncan's taking shots a lot better as well. I used to think Duncan was a little bit chinny, but he's taking these shots a lot better. And I think it's one of those fights where, both guys can dish it out. Both guys are extremely dangerous, but who's going to be able to take it? Who's going to be able to take that punishment, take that damage, take that big shot? I think it's Duncan. I think Duncan can absolutely take it better than Terrance McKinney. If there's any adversity whatsoever, Terrance McKinney, he's looking for the door, right? It's simple as that. So obviously McKinney can win in the first 2 minutes. That's a clear path. But if this fight gets past the first half of the round, I gotta favor Duncan. And I just don't think it's going to be that easy for McKinney to take down and submit Duncan. So I'm going to say Duncan weathers the early storm and knocks out Terrance McKinney in very brutal fashion late in the first round. So give me Chris Duncan by first round knockout. Moving on, we will go from one of my favorite fights to another one of my favorite fights. It is Grant Dawson going against Manuel El Loco Torres. We got Grant Dawson minus 200, Manuel El Loco Torres plus 170. And yeah, this guy, Manuel Torres, man, they call him Loco for a reason. I mean, I wouldn't want to be in the same room as this guy. This guy's just, he's too loco for me. He's a little bit too loco for me, but it makes for a very exciting fight because we have a clash of styles. We have one guy in Manuel Torres who's very loco versus a guy in Dawson who wants to take you down. He wants to wear on you, he wants to smother you, and he wants to drown you, he wants to milk you, and he wants to finish you later on in the fight. So it's kind of weird, typically when we get these very binary fights, because this is a very binary fight. I mean, it's not hard to break down. Either Torres is going to touch the chin of Dawson early on, or Dawson's going to drown him and milk him and finish him later in the fight. Typically when we get binary fights like that, we get really close lines, but that's not really the case here. We have Dawson minus 200, but man, I just have a feeling like Torres, I guess he could knock out Dawson. We saw King Green knock out Dawson in 30 seconds. I mean, if Dawson gets the grappling going, if he gets his game going, he's going to destroy Manuel Torres on the mat. I think there's going to be a massive just levels difference in the grappling. And Dawson's another one of these guys that has recently moved to American Top Team. He's getting that South Florida sun. All of a sudden, his cardio is a lot better. All of a sudden, he's implementing some ground and pound, which we saw in the Rafa Garcia fight. And I just see Dawson weathering an early storm here, getting the fight he wants, taking the fight down to the mat. I think it's going to be a very frustrating fight for Manuel Torres because Torres wants to be loco. He wants to, stand and swing dicks, and Dawson wants to do the complete opposite of that. He wants no dicks to be out. He wants to be on the mat. He wants to be on top. He wants to smother you. He wants to, wear on you and finish you later in the fight, and that's what I think happens. I think Dawson mixes in the takedowns, mixes in some ground and pound, and eventually finishes Torres in the second round. Give me Grant Dawson. I'll say second round TKO. That ground and pound's been looking vicious. I think it comes into play here against Manuel Torres. So Dawson by second round TKO. All right, getting into the main card here. And we are kicking it off with Bogdan Guskov versus Jan Blachowicz. And this is an intriguing fight because if this fight was a couple of years ago, I would be max betting Jan Blachowicz. I mean, it would be a big bet. But the fact of the matter is Jan Blachowicz is 42 years old, which makes him one of the oldest fighters on the roster. And yeah, up at these higher weight classes, light heavyweight, you can kind of get away with it. And he has. We've seen guys like Glover Teixeira get away with it at the light heavyweight division. So it's not a massive concern, but it is a concern, and it cannot be ignored. But man, Jan Blachowicz is so much better than Guskov. It's just simple as that. Guskov, I thought this guy was a complete fraud when he first came into the UFC. He was about to pick him against Volkan Oezdemir, and he went out there and he looked like a fraud. He got club and sub by Volkan Oezdemir, giving Oezdemir, I believe, his first submission ever in his entire career. And I'm like, okay, this guy's a fraud, right? But then he goes out there and he rattles off 3 or 4 wins in a row. And we got to give him credit. We got to certainly give him credit, but, you know, I'm gonna poke some holes in those wins. He went out there and he beat a guy like Ryan Spann. You know, Ryan Spann has 1 round of cardio, a lot of quitting him. If Ryan Spann doesn't beat you in round 1, he's not winning the fight, and that's what happened. Ryan Spann went out there, he looked really good against Guskov early, but he got finished in the second round. Billy Elikana took that fight on a couple days' notice, and Billy Elikana had a lot of success in that first round. Nikita Krylov's washed. Nikita Krylov is very washed, and then the other win was, Zach Pauga. Zach Pauga, who's now cut, and Zach Pauga, who has no chin. So, yeah, I'm poking a little bit of holes in the wins there of Guskov. We do got to give him credit. I mean, 4 wins in the UFC is a lot better than I thought he'd get, but now he's taken a big step up in competition against Jan Blachowicz, former champion. Jan Blachowicz has fought the who's who, and you look at who Jan's losing to. Guys like Carlos Ulberg, who's going to fight for a title probably next year. Alex Pereira, right? Alex Pereira. Magomed Ankalaev, he didn't even lose to Magomed. The Magomed Ankalaev fight was a draw. And then he lost to Glover Teixeira. So it's like he's losing to the top guys in the division. But man, is the age catching up to him? I don't know. We'll see. But man, I think he's the better striker. I think he has more volume, more tools on the feet. I think he's more durable. I think he has the better cardio. I think he has the grappling upside. I think there's a million reasons to like Blachowicz here. But he's an old man. Like he's going to be showing up with the knee pads, the knee sleeves. Probably show up with a neck brace, and that's the concern. That's why I think this fight is lined so closely, because we got somebody who I think is a lot more skilled, but we got a guy who's just very old in Jan Blachowicz. But I'm still going with the old man. One last ride. I'm going to take Jan Blachowicz to win this fight. I'll say he wins it by decision. Next up, we got Peyton Talbot going against Henry Cejudo. We got Peyton Talbot minus 275, Henry Cejudo at plus 235. And yeah, so I think... I think some people might make a case for Cejudo here. Like, Peyton Talbot just got wrestled by 40-year-old Barcelos, and Cejudo has a wrestling background, but, I don't know. I think this is Talbot. I think this is Talbot all day. Cejudo, over here, he's been talking about retiring. Heard an interview where he's talking about how he doesn't even train wrestling anymore, how this is his last fight. Like, those are things you don't want to hear. Like, you don't want to hear stuff like that. And, Cejudo, he hasn't won a fight in like 5 years. It's been 5 years since he's won a fight. And to be honest, like, Cejudo hasn't really been wrestling in a very long time. And I got to give Peyton Talbot some credit, because Peyton Talbot was on top of the world. Peyton Talbot had a ton of hype on him, and he lost a lot of that hype after the Barcelos fight. But what did he do after the Barcelos fight? He went out there and he made a ton of improvements. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen so many improvements from, one fight to the next than I saw in Peyton Talbot in the Felipe Lima fight, because Felipe Lima is a hell of a prospect. And Peyton Talbot went out there, his takedown defense looked a lot better. His get-up game looked a lot better. The scrambling ability, he didn't accept bottom position at any point in that fight. I was blown away with the improvements that Peyton Talbot made, and that's what you got to expect out of a guy that's 27 years old. That's what you got to expect out of a guy in Peyton Talbot who does have a huge gaping hole in his game, and that's the takedown defense. Everybody takes him down, but if he's going to make improvements to his takedown defense, if he's working on that, I mean, Peyton Talbot's going to be a problem. He's going to be an absolute problem for years to come, and especially against Henry Cejudo, who's on his way out, who's saying he's retiring, who hasn't looked great in 5+ years. I mean, this is Peyton Talbot for me. I get why the line's where it's at. I'm going to take Peyton Talbot to actually win this fight by late finish. I know Cejudo's very tough, but if Cejudo's retiring, and I could see him looking for the door here, I'm going to take Peyton Talbot to make a statement and get some of the hype he once lost, and get that back and then some with the big performance here. Give me Peyton Talbot to win. Peyton Talbot to win by 3rd round knockout. Up next, we got Tatsuro Taira going against Brandon Moreno. And yeah, Taira is one of these new wave guys, these new generation flyweights, right? Where, guys like Taira, guys like Joshua Van, and a couple other guys coming in here. And Moreno's the old guard, the old wave of guys who I think are going to start to slowly, exit the division. Pantoja's 35. Pantoja, we'll talk about in a little bit. Pantoja's 35. I don't see Pantoja fighting for the next several years, and it's going to be the guys like Tatsuro Taira and Joshua Van who take over, and I think Taira is getting Brandon Moreno at the right time here. Tatsuro Taira is only 25 years old, which is ridiculous. Same thing, I think, with Josh Van, 25 years old. I think the ceiling is very high for a guy like Tatsuro Taira. When he first got into the UFC, his striking was, okay. The wrestling was, it's not the best, but the grappling was some of the slickest grappling I've ever seen from Taira. I mean, the back takes, the control. I was so impressed with his grappling, outside the UFC and, what he's done thus far. But now he's working on that striking. The striking is improving. He's flashing some power. Now he's working on that wrestling. The wrestling is getting better. And he's always had that very slick grappling. And now he's going against Moreno, who on the feet, you got to favor Moreno. I mean, this guy has a lot of volume, a lot of tools on the feet. I don't think it's one-way traffic by any means in terms of the striking, but, you got to favor Moreno in the striking. But where Taira is going to have success here is in the grappling. I know Moreno is a good grappler, a good scrambler, but at the end of the day, Moreno does have a 64% takedown defense, and I think that Taira will be able to take down Moreno. I think once he does take him down, that's probably the round. That's probably the round. Taira just has such elite control that I think if he takes down Moreno just two times over the course of this fight, I think he wins at least 2 rounds and wins a decision here. So I like Taira. I think this is a great fight for him to kind of take, that big step up. Of course, he lost to Brandon Royval in a close fight in a main event spot. This is another chance to kind of, get back to a potential title shot in the future. So I'm going to take Tatsuro Taira to win this fight. I'm going to take him to win this fight by decision. All right, and just want to remind you guys, the best way to support me is checking out dfsbythenumbers.com, and this week is a great week to do so. It's going to be a massive week for me. I'm going to have a ton of action on the card, going to have a ton of bets. I will be attending the fights live, and when I do that, I like to have a lot of action on the fights. It's just what I like to do. But yeah, with the $20 a month package, you get access to my stats model, write-ups for all bets, my best bet article, and confidence ratings where I break down the entire card, give my pick, prediction, round, method, and then best bet for each and every fight. I give a long shot props as well. Last week I had 2 long shot props. I had the Oseo Amabayev by submission, which was plus 500, and then I had the my titty back oral boy by KO at like plus 300, something like that. So yeah, first notice on all bets, access to the Discord and betting alerts and all that good stuff. And this week I'm very ahead. I'm getting this prediction video out early, obviously, and I've actually already got pretty much most of my article done. So as soon as these props start to drop, going to be dropping a lot of action for UFC 323. So check me out at DFS by the numbers. Come join the Discord. Come join the community. It would mean a lot, and it does help me out a ton. All right, co-main event time. We have Alexander Pantoja going against Joshua Van, and this is the people's main event. This is my main event. I'm really looking forward to this fight. I'm really looking forward to seeing how Joshua Van does in this spot. I mean, getting a title shot, and well-deserved, by the way. He did have that hiccup. Against Charles Johnson where he got knocked out in the 3rd round. But outside of that, Joshua Van has been all entertainment. He's been winning fights. He's been finishing fights. He's been looking good. He's been cashing me bets. And I've really liked what I've seen from Joshua Van and the improvements he's made. So I lied. He's not 25 years old. Joshua Van's 24 years old. I mean, another one of these new wave flyweight. I mean, 24 years old. I would be shocked if Joshua Van did not have a belt wrapped around him one day. The question is, will it be at UFC 323? Will he be able to get past Alexander Pantoja, who's quite frankly just ran through pretty much the entire division? I mean, Alexander Pantoja has been looking phenomenal. This guy is a dog. This guy is as tough as they come. This guy has one of the biggest hearts you'll see as well. Just a ton of heart, no quitting him. If he slows down, he's gonna fight through that fatigue. I mean, how can you not love Alexander Pantoja and his whole story? And it's a fight where on the feet, yeah, you favor Joshua Van. I mean, Joshua Van's landing like 10 strikes per minute. It's ridiculous. I think Josh Van's style is a very 5-round friendly type style. I think Joshua Van's going to have the better cardio here as well. We've seen Pantoja slow down in the past, and nobody's really been able to, make him pay for it. If this fight gets extended, Joshua Van can. The problem is, and the question is, will Joshua Van be able to survive the grappling exchanges? Because they will happen, and they will come. because they always come in Pantoja fights. Pantoja's not some phenomenal D1 wrestler, but he doesn't need to be. He has different ways to get the fight down to the ground, and if he gets his fight down to the ground and he gets to Joshua Van's back, the fight's probably over. Joshua Van, credit to him, he's been improving the grappling, but this guy's a blue belt. He just started MMA back in 2021, I believe. I think that was his MMA debut back in 2021. Still fairly new to the grappling, still fairly new to everything. And Pantoja's been a black belt for years and years, and a very good one. At that, Pantoja has one of the best ground games in not only the flyweight division, the UFC. If this guy gets to your back, the fight will be over shortly after. And Joshua Van, he is making mistakes in the grappling. He has been submitted before. That fight was a while ago, but even against Felipe Bunes, it's like he's rolling for legs and ankles against a black belt in Felipe Bunes. If you do that against Pantoja, you're going to get served on the mat. So I got to go Pantoja here. I think Van's a better live betting spot, if anything, but I just see Pantoja getting down Van, getting to the back, and finishing him with a rear naked choke. So I'm going to go Alexander Pantoja to win this fight. I'll say he wins this fight by second round submission. And then we got the main event. We got Merab Dvalishvili, Petr Yan. If you guys have not already, be sure to comment down how many significant strikes you think that Merab Dvalishvili and Petr Yan are going to combine for. $25 to first. If there's a tie, the tiebreaker goes to the person that commented first. And if I reach 30,000 subscribers by the time this fight card ends, there will be not one winner, not two winners. There will be 3 different winners for the significant strike contest. Merry Christmas to you all. So yeah, comment down those significant strikes and subscribe. All right, main event here, Merab Dvalishvili going against Petr Yan. And yeah, I saw this fight was announced, and I was kind of pissed. I was really pissed off because I bought, tickets to the card. Not ticket. I bought flight tickets. I bought the hotel, and we all got our flights and stuff like that. And I saw this was the main event, and I made a joke. I was like, okay, good fight. Where's the main event? Because there's no way. Merab Dvalishvili, Petr Yan, me personally, maybe this is a hot take. It's hard to be excited about this fight. For one, it's hard to be excited for Merab fight. Let's just call it what it is. He's a great fighter. He's phenomenal, yeah. But, his fights are just such a buzzkill. I remember going to, B-dubs with me and my buddies for the Merab Dvalishvili, Corey Sandhagen fight. My buddy was falling asleep. I'm like, dude, wake up. The main event's starting, so you got to wake up, dude. And he was falling asleep during the Merab Dvalishvili fight. It's like, geez. But yeah, and then on top of that, it's like, why do we really need to see this fight? We saw this fight, and it was bad. It was very bad. Merab Dvalishvili 50-45, Petr Yan, it wasn't even remotely competitive. So, I don't know. I'm not too excited for this one, but I have to go Merab Dvalishvili. I don't see how anybody could watch the first fight back and be like, oh yeah, Jan's got this one. I guess one case I want to make for Jan, just to make this fight more competitive than it was in the first fight, is the fact that there were some rumors swirling around that maybe Jan was sick, maybe Jan had an injury. And if that's the case, if that is true, because we know how fighters always say, oh, I was injured. If that's true, this fight could be a lot more competitive than the first fight, because Merab's minus 500 on a lot of books. Merab was actually plus 220, plus 230 in their first fight. Jan was a minus 300 on some books in their first fight. If Jan was actually compromised, this fight could be closer. Petr Yan, to his credit, he did stuff like 40 takedowns, was kind of afraid to let his hands go a little bit. But maybe he was hurt. And I guess that's kind of what makes this fight the most interesting, is if we do get a fully healthy Jan, maybe this fight is a lot more competitive than the first fight once was. So, I don't know. But even then, I'm not picking against Merab Dvalishvili. That's just not something I do. It's not something I want to do. It's not smart, and it's not smart here. So I'm going to take Merab Dvalishvili to win this fight. I'm going to take Merab Dvalishvili to win this fight how he always wins fights, and that is going to be by decision. And there you have it. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys can do me a favor on your way out, please like the video. Let's try to get a ton of likes on this card. Getting the video out nice and early. I put in a ton of work these last several days. Did not want to take a week off because really looking forward to this one. So like the video, subscribe to the channel. 150 subs away from 30K. It'd mean a lot. And then leave me a comment. You can comment down the significant strikes. You can also leave me a comment, and you could potentially be featured on Comment of the Week next week. There was no Comment of the Week this week. There wasn't really anything that really stuck out too much. But hopefully there will be some nice comments of the week coming up next week for the last card of the year, the card in the Apex. So best of luck, everybody, for UFC 323. Enjoy the card. It's going to be a banger. I will be there live. I will be there live in attendance. I will be enjoying this one. I will be enjoying the violence. And best of luck, guys. We'll talk to you soon. And see you later. Peace.